have a question for you. How safe and secure is your website right now? Your website is literally your online home. It's where you've got all of your content. If you've got products on there, you've got all of your product details. That's probably taken you hours to upload. You've probably invested time and money in creating that website in the first place, and you've probably invested a lot of time in doing blogging if you have got a blog on there as well, and you've probably got months worth of content on there that obviously would be a massive shame if you lost it. So consider this: what would happen if someone were to go to your website, try to log in, they know your email address, so that's one part of the login done, and what about your password? These days it is so easy to guess passwords. Anyone who has got any kind of hacking technology knowledge knows how easy it is to use specialized softwares to guess passwords. It is not difficult to get through to a website if you really wanted to. And what would happen if a hacker did manage to do that to your website? Would you have a backup? Would you be able to rescue the site and find it again? Would you be able to stop them in the first place? These are the questions I want you to ask yourself today, and if you don't know the answers, then keep on watching. Hi, my name is Anna from Byrosanna Design. I am a designer and online educator, and I post new videos all about business, marketing, tech tutorials and productivity here every single week. So hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up to like this video if you want to watch more. So how can we make sure that our websites are safe from hackers and secure, that if we did ever lose it or have anything happen to our website, we wouldn't go into a massive meltdown and lose absolutely everything? I'm going to share a few tips for you, and I'm going to try and make them as generic as possible for all of the kind of different website platforms that you get, but some will be more specific. So if we start out with your user logins, for example, if you're using WordPress, oftentimes if you create a user to start off with, as in someone to log into your website, you, the creator of the website, sometimes the users can just have the username admin, and that makes it even easier for someone to be able to hack into your website, because when they are shown that screen that has put in the username, put in the password, they already know the username because it's probably admin. So even if they don't know you, they don't know your email address, they don't know anything about you, if you've still got your username set as admin, that is just one step closer for them being able to hack into your account. So any places where you have got admin as your username, please change it. Obviously, when you are setting up passwords, do try and make them as unpredictable as possible. No kind of easy strings of numbers or things that are to do with your name or your business name. And what I would really suggest is that you use some kind of password manager like 1Password or LastPass or something like that. And these password managers will create a unique string of numbers and characters for you that are really hard to guess, and they will also save them to your computer so that you don't have to remember them, but no one else should be able to guess them either. Another thing I'd suggest is to never write your password down. Obviously, you shouldn't need to if you're using one of these password managers, but if you're using a personal one and you need to be able to remember it and you need to write it down, write down a hint, not the full password itself. And this goes for online and offline as well. If you do need to share your logins with someone for your website, what I would always suggest doing is trying to add them as an admin instead to your website. So you can do this, I believe, on all major platforms by adding a user or adding an admin as a separate person with a separate email address and login that's completely theirs to the website instead. On WordPress, this is called users, and you can easily add a new one. On Squarespace, you go into settings, you go to permissions, and you click invite contributor, and then you can invite the person that you want to access the website by name, by email address. You can give them various permissions, and that will send them an invite email that will allow them to set up their own password without you having to give out your password to anyone. However, when it comes to logging into your website, the main tip that I have for you is to enable something called two-factor authentication. So what this means, and you can ignore the fancy technical name, it just means that it adds another step or another layer of security to your login process. So usually you'll have to enter your email address or your username and a password, and then you log straight into the website. If you enable two-factor authentication on your website, it basically adds a second step. So once you've put in your username or your email address and password, you can then do something like it will text you a login code or email you a login code, or you can use an app to scan a code or put in a special unique code that is completely unique to you. And it just adds an extra layer of security to show that, because technically anyone from anywhere in the world could log in with your username and a password that they found out, but not everyone would also have access to your phone number, for example, to receive a code by text, or access to your email inbox to receive a code by email. So it adds a really, really good layer of security, and I'd highly recommend you set that up on your website. On Squarespace, all you have to do is go to your account dashboard, go to account settings, account and security, and then click two-factor authentication. It will then give you a range of different options to set up. You can have more than one set up as well, so you can use an authentication app, which is where you download the app, and then when you open it, because you want to log into your website, it gives you a quick code that times out after a few minutes that's specific to you and your phone. Or you can have it by text message, or you can do some backup codes as well. So that's in Squarespace. Shopify has the same kind of system in their settings as well. And if you're using WordPress, you'll need to install a plugin to do that for you. I'd recommend using one called miniOrange 2-factor, and I will leave a link to that in the description below. Now, if you're using a managed platform like Squarespace or Wix or something like that, that platform will usually take care of all the kind of security updates, backups of your site and things like that for you, so you don't have to. However, one thing I would suggest if you are using a platform like Squarespace and Wix is regularly exporting your content. If you wanted to save that just as your own kind of backup, it won't save everything, but it will save the text in blog posts, for example, and stuff like that. You can also export design settings, so that if your site did go down and you lost your content, but you also lost the way that your design is set up in terms of the fonts and colours, you can actually export those so that you'd be able to set up a new Squarespace site and import all those, so you wouldn't have to fiddle around with them again. So there's like small bits of personal backups that you can do with Squarespace, but really it's taken care of you by Squarespace themselves. If your site were to go down, you would contact Squarespace support and they would be able to get your site back up and running again. However, I would also suggest that if you are writing blog content for your Squarespace blog or your website that has a blog on it, I would advise that you write up the content, and this applies to just pages as well actually, but pages and blog posts, when you're writing the content for them, write them elsewhere. So write them in a Google Doc or in a just Word document or something like that first, and then add them to Squarespace afterward. That way, if you do lose the content on your website, you still have them saved elsewhere, so you could add them back into another site if you needed to create a new one at any point. With sites like WordPress, because it is self-managed, you have to take care of security and updates of all of that kind of stuff. You should be updating your plugins and your themes regularly to make sure that they are the most up-to-date version, because usually what will happen is those plugins have been updated because of some security issue that has meant hackers can get into your website that way, or some kind of issue around security. So keep your plugins up to date, but also you might want to install a couple of security plugins. So one that I use on my WordPress sites is called Wordfence, and what that basically does is it scans your website to see if there are any security vulnerabilities. It can see if there are bots or hackers trying to access your website, and it can block some of them, but it can also send you alerts if there are any issues with security happening as well on your site. Another one would be the Limit Login Attempts plugin, which basically just stops you from being able to repeatedly try and log into your website. So it will give you 3 or 5 chances to log in with different password combinations. And if you run out of those chances, then it will block you from trying to log into the site for 24 hours or whatever time period you want to set. And that again will just stop people from repeatedly trying to try different passwords to log in if they're not you. With WordPress, again, you will need to be responsible for backing up your website. So I use a plugin called UpDraft Plus, and what that does is it enables you to, whenever you like, once a week or once a month, whenever you write it down to do this, you need to go into the plugin and basically click do a backup, and it will save an entire backup of your site, so that if it ever did go down, you have that backup downloaded onto your computer or in Dropbox or wherever, and you would basically be able to set up another WordPress site, get UpDraft Plus, the plugin, and just import all that backup straight in and create your website again from scratch, but it would have everything on it. So those are all my tips for keeping your website safe and secure. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the comment box and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I will see you again next week for another video.